So, how's that song go again? Guess who's back? Back again? How are y'all doing? My name is Michael Anthony Martinez. Last football season, I did kind of a sports podcast where I did predictions and I talked about sports. And then towards the end of the year, when we got close to the Super Bowl, um, I got a really bad flu, and I was out for a couple of weeks, so I didn't get a chance to come in and talk about the Super Bowl. I did pick Seattle, by the way, and they did win. But that wouldn't have saved the deplorable year I had making picks. But I would like to make picks again if I could, and I would like you guys to join me. Excuse me while I straighten out my glasses. And I would like for you guys to join me. I'm just gonna straighten out my hat, which seems to be off. Okay, I'm wearing my Dodger hat, so already I can feel the hate. I can feel it. Um, there's really not much to pick right now. But I am gonna do. Here's what I'm gonna do. Up until the football, and tonight's the first official preseason game, Carolina and Arizona. No one's betting on that. Don't bet on that. Carolina is favored by 1.5. I do think Carolina is going to win, by the way. But a lot of times teams like Arizona have something to prove, and you know, they they try to prove stuff. Anyway, so before I get into talking about today, we're going to talk about the NFC South, a really interesting division. Before I get into that, let me run through a couple of quick sports things that happen. I want to do a little more regular sports in this show than I've done in the past, along with the predictions that I do. Each one of these things before was like 9-10 minutes, so now it might be 15-20 minutes, whatever. It still will involve picks. I'm going to go over each division as each week comes along. And like I said, today we're going to hop on the NFC South, and then we'll move slowly through. Let me just run by a couple of really quick sports topics so you can kind of see where my mind is at, sports-wise. First topic is LeBron James going to Philadelphia. I think what we learned from that is that LeBron James just wants to win. And I'm glad. I'm a Laker fan, but I was done with him, and I thought it was time for him to go. I would like to see the Lakers rebuild. They're not going to win a championship. They weren't going to win a championship with LeBron James, and they're definitely not going to win a championship without him. But it's time to rebuild. It's time to build around Luka. His scope is close. So I'm glad that I'm happy that LeBron gets the chance to go to a winning team. I think Philadelphia is going to be very good this year. There's a chance they might go to the finals. I mean, if the Knicks win, why can't Philadelphia? So I think what we learned from the LeBron situation is he just wants to win. The second topic that I absolutely love talking about, and I spent a lot of time on sports media. I watch a lot of shows, whether it be Colin Cowherd. I love Jim Rome. Jim Rome and Colin Cowherd are kind of the polar opposite. Jim Rome's show is hilarious, and Colin Cowherd's show is more of a thinking man's show. He brings up topics that make you think and gets you a little upset. And then I listen to some other sports shows that I listen to. But one of the topics that has been really hot over the last few weeks is the WNBA. And I love the WNBA. Well, let me rephrase that. I love Caitlin Clark. And I love Sophie Cunningham. And I love Kelsey Mitchell. I love the Indiana Fever. I don't really like any other WNBA. And I watched all their games. And I'm rooting for them. I hope they win. And there was a lot of controversy with the WNBA, whether it be Caitlin Clark, whether it be Sophie Cunningham, whether it be Paige Buchholz, whether it be Angel Reese. And I think what we have to remember is it's all about viewership. And I get it. I love these old guys that come on, whether it be Stephen A. or Colin Cowherd, and they're all old and they just don't like it. They don't like what's happening. But I want you to imagine that the WNBA's job beyond providing good basketball, and I think it's good basketball. I've seen a couple of Indiana Fever games that were better than any NBA games I saw last year. The reason the WNBA exists is primarily for a female audience. And a lot of men watch it. I watch it. And I think we need to understand that if you have a woman in your life, if you have someone that you're with all the time, most of the time they don't like sports. Now, I know a lot of that's ridiculous because I know a lot of women that love sports. But most women are not excited about watching a 4-hour football game. And I shouldn't say most, but I mean, there are a lot of men that are excited about watching a 4-hour football game. I just think the WNBA caters to a female audience. Now, that doesn't mean what happens is right. That doesn't mean that the drama means more to women. It's just a different thing. I don't think men understand it. I don't think we get it. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. And the WNBA provides a dramatic, filled, episodic style event, as long as a basketball game. I love the WNBA. I love watching Caitlin Clark play. I love watching Sophie Cunningham. I love Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston. There's a couple other gals that are playing that are really good. And I can do that. I can separate myself. But dudes make it sound like there's no drama in regular sports. You ever heard of John Morant? You ever heard of Kevin Durant? You ever heard of LeBron James? When I was younger, Rasheed Wallace, Dennis Rodman. You ever heard of the 80s New York Mets? Crackpots, drama-filled. I mean, if there would have been social media around when the New York Mets were playing in the 80s, when they had won their World Series, when they had that great team, I mean, they'd be thrown off the face of the earth. So the WNBA is dramatic, but I mean, these headlines I kept seeing is, oh my God, what's wrong with the WNBA? The WNBA is killing themselves. They're not. They're the game the Indiana-Minnesota game over the weekend was ridiculous. It was as high-rated as any normal basketball game in the regular season. So they're doing something right. If people are watching it, they're doing something right. And you may not like it, and you may get bothered by it, and you might not like the social media aspect of it, but it's what works, and it's what gets people to watch. The Dodgers. The narrative on the Dodgers has changed so much in the past 3 days, because when they got Skubal a few days ago, it seemed like, oh, here are the Dodgers piling it on. Pitchers they don't need. And now we're 3 days later. They got swept by the Red Sox. They got swept by the Cubs. Until the eighth inning of the last Cubs game, they were literally getting their ass kicked. And finally, in the eighth inning, they came around. They got a big series of the Arizona Diamondbacks this weekend. It's no longer a joke. They get swept by the Arizona Diamondbacks. They're only 6 games up in the NL West. And I get it. The NL West is a dumpster fire. I understand that. Shohei Ohtani is no longer the favorite to win the MVP. They don't have any Cy Young. As far as I know, they don't have any pitcher at the level of Mazersky. They brought in Tariq Skubal to pitch a game. He lost. He only gave up 2 runs, but the Dodgers decided not to score any runs. So your logic that the Dodgers are somehow ruining baseball and taking over baseball and there's some kind of evil empire is far from wrong. They're just a team trying to win a world championship. And at this point, they don't look like a team that can win a world championship, but I wouldn't bet against them because they find a way to win. But they're a clicking time bomb. It's a clock that are on the Los Angeles Dodgers. And unless they can bring in some young people, and they have great young players, and I think this Skubal deal is awesome. It helps them in the future. I think they're in serious trouble. Okay, let's hang out for a second. And when I come back, we will discuss football. Football is here. I can't wait. So, the AFC South last year was won by the Carolina Panthers. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers completely fell apart at the end of the year. And they ended up losing the division. So I'm looking at the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Atlanta Falcons, and the Saints. And I've watched a lot of sports talk. I've watched a lot of the training camp stuff to this point. Training camp just started this week, so how much information do you possibly have? I think it's going to be a tight division. I think there is a bet to be made in the NFC South. And that bet is the Carolina Panthers over 7.5. I don't understand that line at all. The over-under is 7.5. I think they're easily gonna win 10 games. I've looked at their schedule. I've gone over all the schedules of all the teams, and I think they almost beat the Rams last year. They came very close to beating the Rams in the playoffs. So I don't understand why they're only favored by 7.5. Not only that, I think they're going to win the division. So I'm looking at 10-7 for the Carolina Panthers, something around there, and easily getting over the 7.5, which you can bet right now. Over under Carolina 7.5. Tampa Bay has lost some players, or their coaches on the hot seat. Baker Mayfield's upset because they didn't get a contract. I mean, he was offered 2 years, $100 million, but he wanted multiple years. And I think Baker deserves that, but I also think teams don't want to commit anymore to quarterbacks for $50 million because it just ruins everything else until they increase the salary cap. I'm always a proponent of a separate salary cap for quarterbacks. I've been saying that since day one. There should be a salary cap for your team and then a separate salary cap for quarterbacks, because I think most teams now need to have three quarterbacks. These days of just having one backup quarterback are over. Too many guys are getting hurt. Too many teams are just done. Oh, my quarterback got hurt. I'm done. Season's over. I mean, I'm a huge Green Bay Packer fan, as you can see. I mean, we lose Jordan Love, and now without Malik Willis, we lose Jordan Love. Season's over. And I do think the NFL needs to work on that, because I do think you lose a chunk. You know, if the Packers lose Jordan Love, if the Dallas Cowboys lose Dak Prescott, the Buffalo Bills lose Josh Allen, if the Baltimore Ravens lose Lamar Jackson, I can continue with this for a bunch of quarterbacks. It's over. And I just don't see how the NFL can accept that as an acceptable way to do business. You have to have an option. And I'm not saying that the Baltimore Ravens lose Lamar Jackson and put in a quality backup, they're going to go to the Super Bowl, but maybe Lamar Jackson comes back. But if Lamar Jackson misses 5 or 6 weeks, season's probably over. But if they had a competent backup who could just keep him at 500, Lamar can come back and possibly they can make a run. And I think that would be better for the product being put on the field. So I understand what Baker Mayfield wants, and I understand what Tampa wants. I do think Baker Mayfield's going to ball out, because I think he's going to play for his career. But when all is said and done, I'm thinking Tampa is going to be somewhere around 8-9. I would love to tell you anything about the Atlanta Falcons beyond I just don't know, but I just don't know. And I'm just going to have to go off what the Atlanta Falcons have brought to us previously, the fact that they don't have a quarterback, and go with them being also 8-9. I'm kind of down on the Saints, but I'm hearing a lot of talk that maybe they're better than we think. Maybe the coach is a better offensive mind. They don't have a ton of pieces. You know, maybe they win 7 games. I got some people saying they're going to win 10. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. But who knows? It could possibly happen. So the only bet that I'm going to tell you that comes out of this for long term is I do like Carolina over the 7.5. Let's talk about fantasy football. I would like to give you my. Okay. I by no means am a fantasy football guru. I'm not claiming to be that. I played fantasy football most of my life. I've been in 2 or 3 fantasy football leagues a year for the last 20 years. I've won a few. I demand that I go to the playoffs every year. I don't care what happens. I just want to go to the playoffs. I'm like a pro team. I just want to get to the playoffs in my fantasy and then see what I can do. The last couple of years, I've had some issues. First rounds, I've had some horrible regular seasons, barely over 500. And, what are you going to do? There was 3 or 4 years where I won. That was that one year I won 2 different fantasies. Look, it's a crapshoot. The more you know about football, the better. I will say that. And I know a lot about football. I got no kids. All I have to do in life is watch football. I have no other job when it comes to football season. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to give you my top fantasy picks. Do with it what you want. I don't care. Just something to talk about, and it is interesting. So here are my top 5 fantasy quarterback picks. And when I talk about these 5 quarterbacks, I think, in my opinion, you could pick them 3rd round. Most of your fantasy quarterbacks go in about the 5th round, unless you're Josh Allen, or unless you're a top line Josh Allen, Mahomes, someone like that, Lamar Jackson. So these 5 that I'm about to give you are deserving of a 3rd round pick. I like to pick top line quarterbacks in the 3rd round, only because there's so many wide receivers that, and it's such a crapshoot. There's 4 good wide receivers, and then everybody else is just what kind of year are they going to have. Same thing goes for running backs. And this year's running back core is not as good as it's been in the past. If you could tell me, oh, I know one guy. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But quarterbacks, as long as they stay healthy, which last year mine didn't because I picked Joe Burrow, and he went out quick. And I also had Baker in my other league. I had Lamar Jackson, who also got hurt. So this year, here are the 5 guys that I'm going into this year, feeling really confident about, and I think would be warranted of a 3rd round pick in my fantasy draft. Caleb Williams, who, I'm a Packer fan, so me sitting here telling you about a Bear, shocking. But I think Caleb Williams is going to have a great year. I don't know what kind of year the Bears are going to have because I think their defense is in trouble. I don't think they can depend on this. Let's win the game in the last second. But I do think Caleb Williams will get better. If his completion percentage goes up 5 points, watch out. Watch out. He'll be a great, and he doesn't get injured. He likes to heave the ball down the field. Got a cannon as an arm. So I would say Caleb Williams would be my number 1 pick. My 2nd pick would be Dak Prescott. Say what you want about the Cowboys. I don't know if they're going to the playoffs. The owner's nuts. But Dak Prescott has got an offensive juggernaut on his hand. And I think he warrants a very high pick in my fantasy draft. I think he's going to bring you points every week. A lot of points. Mixed along with a good 1st round pick. That may be all you need. So Dak Prescott would be my number 2. Look, Josh Allen is, over the past 3 or 4 years, the best fantasy quarterback in football. It's not even a question. So Josh Allen's always warranted of a high draft pick. I've chosen him 3rd in the past. I've lost him in the 3rd round in the past. Like, guy who picks 3rd beat me. So everyone knows the level of Josh Allen and what he brings to the table. Justin Herbert. I love the Chargers. I love where the Chargers are at. I love everything about the Chargers. I love McDaniels at OC. This is a lock. I think I think the offensive line is going to be in order. I think this is, and he's marrying one of the most beautiful women in the world. Hopefully that doesn't work against him. But I love Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert, whatever the hell you call him. And I would definitely spend a good amount of round pickage on him. I think he's going to be awesome. And my last, maybe you can get this guy a little later, but I think he's going to ball out, is Baker Mayfield. He is playing for a contract. He has turned down $100 million, so he's betting on himself. I love when guys do that. And Baker Mayfield's the perfect guy to do that. He's the perfect guy to bet on himself. I love it. And I love Baker Mayfield. And I would definitely say he would be in my one of my top fantasy QB picks. I got totally screwed over by Lamar Jackson last year, so I'm no longer with him. I don't know what's happening to Pat Mahomes. I don't know. I don't like anyone that's coming off a major injury. I would never do that. I love Mark Stafford. He's old. I love Jordan Love. He gets injured a lot. I love Jared Goff. I'm not sure about what's happening with Detroit. There's a lot of guys out there I like, but I just don't know. Those 5, I feel pretty confident are going to do very well. Okay, like I said, we got a game tonight, Carolina, Arizona. Carolina's favored by 1.5 points. Fine, I'll take Carolina. Whatever. I think the Panthers are going to be awesome this year. I think the Panthers are going to win the division. So this might be a beginning look at that. Arizona also is in a pure dumpster fire, so they may have something to prove. And a preseason games when a lot of bad teams usually prove themselves. My name is Michael Anthony Martinez. I can't wait. This football season is going to be awesome. Hope you've enjoyed this kickoff podcast. And we will do it again next week. And I cannot wait for football season. And go Dodgers.